ladies, hurry up. Good. Hopefully the rain, the bit of drizzle will hold off and we'll crack on through. Come on, hurry up! Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London. It's a World Heritage Site. My name is Yeoman Warder, 420 Gary McCormick. It's my pleasure to welcome you here and for the next hour guide you around the complex. Now, I'll point out some of the more historic buildings and tell you something of their history. But you have to forgive me, I'm going to try and cram 1,000 years of history into about 55 minutes. So apologies for my northern accent and if I speak a bit too quick. But I'll try my best, eh? Please give me a chance before you walk off halfway. So our story begins way back in the year 1066 when William, Duke of Normandy, better known as William the Conqueror, defeated the Anglo-Saxon King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. William was crowned King William I of England on Christmas Day of that year, but he had to continue to fight his newly conquered subjects as he didn't take too kindly to Norman domination. Well, they wouldn't, they were an occupying army. William was looking for somewhere to impress and overawe the citizens of London, and he chose a site just inside the eastern city wall where an old Roman fort once stood. And it was here, in 1078, he ordered the construction of his first royal palace and fortress of its kind to be built in England. Today we refer to it as the White Tower. Don't bother looking, you can't see it. There's a key phrase, and it is situated just behind those buildings. And you get a much better view of it later on in the tour. Now, come on, you're late. I'll have to start again now. On you.
This is great.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to His Majesty. So over the next 200 years, successive monarchs continued to add to the defences. The inner ballium or defensive wall contains 13 smaller towers and it was completed around 1220. The outer ballium defensive wall here was completed around 1280 and contains a further 6 towers to the south to defend attacks coming from the river. And to the north of this wall are 2 strong bastions. You can see one of them there. They're called Legs Mount and Brass Mount, inside and on top of which would have been mounted cannons to defend attacks coming from that direction. The third line of defence was a moat or ditch. Once filled with water, it goes all the way around the tower and you're currently stood in it. It was dug during the reign of King Edward I, who employed an expert, a master vaulter from Holland. The moat was 120 feet wide and when fully excavated was 15 feet deeper than you see it today. In fact, if you look over there towards the causeway, you may just see the top of the arch of one of the sluice arches. It was designed to use the tidal flow of the River Thames, so twice a day it would flow into and around the moat and wash back out again to keep it clean. And that system seemed to work rather well at first. But the expert Master Walter wasn't as much of an expert as he actually thought he was, because he dug the moat deeper than the mean level of the river. So it didn't always wash out back to sea, it came back in here. Oh, thank you very much for turning up late. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to His Majesty's Royal. So he dug it too deep. So then all that rubbish and excrement, that's poo boys, directed into it from Shoresditch, Houndsditch, and the tower itself was too much, and it became the largest cesspit in London and a source of great pestilence to those that live nearby, especially the 1,000 soldiers of the Tower garrison. Now, thankfully, we're an efficient nation, thank God. and we only let this situation continue for the next 500 years. Until in 1843, the then Constable of the Tower, the Duke of Wellington, the Iron Duke, asked permission for Queen Victoria to have the moat drained. This was granted, and he then had it filled in with sand and shingle and gravel up to the height that you see today, and then put it to good use as an exercise area, a parade ground of the troops of the Tower garrison. Now, over the years, it's had many uses. The White Tower, still can't see it, sir. Still can't see it. The White Tower was a royal residence right up until 1603, the last monarch to reside there being King James I. The crown jewels and royal regalia have been safely stored here since 1303. The Royal Mint was located within these walls, where all the coins of the realm were designed and produced. It was a royal armoury for the storage of warlike stores and provisions, and all the official records and papers of our kings and queens' courts was stored here before being moved away in the middle of the 19th century to form the Public Records Office. The first Royal Observatory was located here, studying the stars and the planets, till that was moved to Greenwich in the 17th century. It was a royal menagerie or zoo, and all the animals given as gifts to our kings and queens were kept here until 1835. Where are you going? I haven't finished. Give me a chance. Go on up it. No, you won't. Go on up it. You can go if you want. You're not French, are you? Where was I? Where was I? Come on!
It was used all the way up to.
Thank you, animals, pay attention, right for the good of my health. All the animals given as gifts to our kings and queens were kept here. You might have seen some of the models already, the elephant, for example. We killed the elephant, by the way, sorry about that, but we're soldiers, not zookeepers. Apparently an elephant is not meant to drink a barrel of wine every day. Sorry about that. You might look and see the models of the lions there, at the ruins of the Lion Tower. They were kept there for a couple of reasons. The first one, the heraldic crests of our sovereigns have got 3 rampant lions on. However, most people, when they were brought here, had never even heard of a lion, let alone seen one. So we're there to scare the bejesus out of people. Well, what the hell is that? I'll tell you a little story, actually, going back to 1632. There was a yeoman warder called Blandon. He was working in the Lion Tower, and one night he was seen running down Lower Thames Street, absolutely hammering it down Lower Thames Street, when another yeoman warder who had been in one of the pubs down there was walking towards the town. He's all of a panic. Bloody hell, yeoman warder Blandon, what are you doing? He said, there's a lion escaped from the Lion Tower. I said, which way is it going? I said, you don't think I'm chasing it, do you? I don't know, I wasn't there. There you go. The Lion Tower. Last but not least, it must rank as the most famous prison complex in the world. Talking of prisoners, please turn round and notice that large white building with the many statues in it just behind those trees. Can everybody see that magnificent building?
Yeah.
That building has got nothing whatsoever to do with the Tower of London. It's built for the Port of London Authority to control all the shipping on the River Thames. They still do that now. But however, it's a useful landmark for me to point out the open area in front of it. It's known as Trinity Square Gardens. It stands in an area known as Tower Hill, and that was the site of many executions between the 14th and 18th centuries. In fact, King Edward IV had a permanent scaffold erected there in 1475, 1465 earlier even. Sorry about that, it's been a long day. 1465, which is the source of many complaints around the people of London. Over the years, no less than 75 men of noble birth were to be executed up there by means of block and axe. The first victim in 1381 was a man called Simon Sudbury, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was dragged up there and murdered at the hands of peasants for daring to introduce a poll tax. Yeah, if only. I know where you're coming from. 7 years later, in 1388, the first legal execution took place up there on Tower Hill. And this was also a Simon, Sir Simon de Burley. But by remarkable coincidence, the last person to be executed up there by means of block and axe was another Simon, Sir Simon Fraser, the Lord Lovat. He was an 8-year-old Scottish lord who had supported the Second Jacobite Rebellion led by Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1745. Anybody called Simon here today? Just imagine and picture the scene up there on the day of an execution. Thousands would have gathered around the raised platform, the scaffold, to watch proceedings. It'd be like a major sporting event or rock concert nowadays. Having delivered his final speech and said his prayers, the prisoner would kneel down, placing his neck on a block of oak. He'd then give a word or a signal, i.e. dropping a handkerchief, for example, and the executioner would bring down his axe, hopefully severing his victim's head with one stroke. A little bit of a nervous disposition, you may want to put your fingers in your ears. I totally understand. Once the axe came down, the head was severed from the body. The executioner had to carry out by law what was known as a proclamation. He would bend down. He would pick up by the hair the severed and still bleeding head. If there was no hair, it was quite simple. He'd punch his fist through the bottom of the skull and hold the head aloft for all to see. Behold, the head of a traitor. So die all traitors. God save the king. To which there would be a massive roar from the crowd.
God save the king.
Long afternoon.
It's going to be a long
The
afternoon.
word there, ladies and gentlemen, was massive. Roar from the crowd. Massive. To which there would be a massive roar from the crowd.
God save the king.
A lot better, a lot better. Final example of cheering the proclamation. Where are you going? Up it then, go on. Sorry about that. Sorry I was so bad. Give me excuses, it's just Yeoman Warder Beefeater humour. Trying to make them laugh. Bye bye now. Lovely to look at you. Not that bad, am I, sir? The head would then be placed on a soldier's pike. It would be carried through the streets of London to London Bridge, which in those days was the only bridge across the River Thames. It would be displayed above the entrance of the city as a sign of the fate that awaited all would-be traitors. Meanwhile, the headless corpse would be taken down, placed in a small handcart or hand-barrow, and wheeled back down the slope, through the bulwark gates, over a small drawbridge, through the Lion Tower, over another drawbridge, and through the Middle Tower, so named because it once stood in the middle of the moat. Clever, eh? Then be taken over the causeway, through the archway of the Bywood Tower. You've then taken up Water Lane, up past the Bloody Tower, across Tower Green, where it will be quickly buried in an unmarked grave in the beautiful Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. There wouldn't even be a priest in attendance. There'd be certainly no friends at the graveside, and not even a gravestone to mark the spot in that chapel where they lay. But we were Christian, we were good men, so we buried them inside the chapel. We're not going to go to hell, are we? The Middle Tower and the Bywood Tower date from 1280. You alright? Having a bit of a panic there, you alright? I was going to chop your head off. The Middle Tower, due to its proximity near the entrance gates, has mostly been used as a guard room and later served as part of the garrison hospital. The Bywood Tower, however, like most towers in the complex, has served as a prison within a prison. Notably, 2 of the 4 Scottish lords were held in there before their execution up there in 1746, Lords Kilmarnock and Balmerino. There was a 4th Scottish lord, the Marquess of Talabardine, who was also condemned to suffer the same fate, but defeated the executioner by dying under the scalpel of a doctor during a serious operation whilst imprisoned in the tower. And of course the 4th Scottish lord, don't be sorry for him or in him, supported a rebellion. He was a traitor to the crown. The 4th Scottish lord, I've already mentioned, the 8-year-old Lord.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
When we go through the Bywood Tower, look up and notice the spikes of the Norman dropgate or portcullis. It is one of 2 portcullises we still have here. It weighs over 1.5 tons and dates from 1326. You'll notice when we go up there, I walk quite quickly through the Biowind Tower, as the rope that holds up that portcullis also dates from 1320. You may also notice 3 circular holes drilled through the stone. I saw you trying to get away again. You should have just gone the first time. They're called murder holes, and they were probably used by the defenders of that tower to pour boiling oil and hot sand onto would-be attackers trying to get in. They would also have been used by the defenders of the tower to empty out their waste buckets, more poo boys, into the cart as it passed underneath. Happy? Let's try and get out of this wind. You're going to cause a gap there, I'm going to come through and lead from the front. We'll lead the way up the ramp into the tower. As I said, watch the cobbles, there's trip hazards all over. I enjoy it when you fall over, I find it very funny. I haven't really got time to stop and do first aid and funny paper.